Alright guys, it is time to break down the spiciest team of the VGC WBE Doubles Tournament. It is time to talk about KayCreigh and the LA Spice. Let's hit it. Alright guys, here we have the team. You can see them up on the left hand side of the screen over there. We have fantastic draft pick for the LA Spice this season. I'm feeling like they're going to go big this season. We'll start with our gears. There are three major gears for this team that I'm seeing, and they're all phenomenal with the draft picks that KayCreigh has picked up. We have the Sun Core that this team has, strong Sun Core around regular Ninetails, GMax Venusaur, and Salazzle. Second core that we're seeing is a strong Trick Room core with Ttar, Dusclops, and Araquanid. And then we also have a good support core to back up either side of these two cores in Comfey and Mawile, and even in Purloin, just a tiny bit. We'll give it that honorable mention, as they say. Alright, let's talk Poke highlights. From the top, we have our big boy, we have our Sunflower, my favorite GMax Venusaur. Obviously super strong in its potential with Chlorophyll. It runs Sleep Powder, runs a GMax Vine Lash coming off of its Solar Beam. It's got Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, get that max ooze up for the special attack. This thing is a monster to deal with whether it's Dynamax or not, especially in the Sun Core. So super great starting pick for the LA Spice here. Next up, we're talking Trick Room Core. One of the best Trick Room Pokemon, followed shortly by Conkeldurr, but clearly picking up the Ttar here. Ttar, super strong in Trick Room, great with the weakness policy, good at flinching with rock slides, great under its own sand setup. It is just an overall strong Pokemon to pick up for the season. Following shortly up on great Pokemon under Trick Room, we have Araquanid, yet another fantastic pickup for KayCreigh and the team. Obviously super strong under Trick Room, being a very slow Pokemon. You can run the standard Mystic Water set that we've seen A-Drive run a lot. It gets Lunge, it gets Liquidation, it gets Crunch, and it also gets Leech Life. So many potential options here to kind of mix and match the set. Obviously getting those max Flutterbys off, the max Geyser off with Liquidation, and being super strong in its own reign. Following that, we have the start of the support core. Comfey, a fantastic pickup. Very strong supporter with Triage as its ability, getting those priority healing moves off. It gets Giga Drain, it gets Draining Kiss, Floral Healing. Fantastic support for this team. Great Pokemon to pick up this season. Next up, we have a bit of an off-brand Sun pick, is what I'm going to call this one. Salazzle's still a really strong Pokemon with its ability Corrosion to be able to break those Steel types and actually do damage with its Poison type moves. Obviously super strong between its Fire Poison core here. Definitely an interesting pick to try and sort of bridge a couple of gaps. I'm intrigued to see how she's going to be running it this season for its moves, and whether it's going to be more supportive or offensively prowessed. Next up, we have a Amoonguss Light. I love Little Foongus. It looks adorable. It's the same relative set to Amoonguss that we already talked about in our previous videos. It's got Spore, it's got Rage Powder, it's got the ability to do some damage, but still just a fantastic supporter Pokemon to bring here. I don't give it the highlight to be a good supporter because I think she's got a couple better ones at the far end of her draft, but still not a bad pick for some Spore coverage if needed. Next up, we have Cloyster. Cloyster, an interesting pick for the team. I honestly didn't see this one coming a little bit in her draft. Really strong still. It's got Skill Link as its ability. It can run Shell Smash. It can run Icicle Spear, Bullet Seed. It's just got such potential with Skill Link to do those max turns for those moves and to be able to really dish out some damage. Next up running, we have obviously regular Ninetails here, setting up the sun for the LA Spice and making it pretty hot out here. Great Pokemon overall, not the best stats in comparison to its Alolan form, but overall really strong, good special attack, and also the ability to really set up that sun and get this team rolling. We have Dusclops next. Dusclops utterly devastating in Trick Room. This Pokemon is probably the pick of every VGC competitive team if you speak the word Trick Room to them. Dusclops super strong. It runs Nightshade. It can run Will-O-Wisp, Trick Room obviously, and then there's a bunch of other smaller move sets between Ally Switch and Destiny Bond. There's just potential out the wazoo for this Pokemon. Obviously super strong with Eviolite. Pretty standard set to be running on it. Following that up, we have the, I'm going to call it the cute pick for the LA Spice. definitely a great, interesting pick in Purloin. Prankster, obviously, as its standard ability, it can run Sucker Punch, Fake Out, T-Wave. It's a good supporter Pokemon overall. It pales in comparison to Liepard a little bit, but obviously, with the lower end picks of the free end of the draft, LA Spice picked up a reasonable pick for running Fake Out support. Finally, wrapping up the LA Spice's draft, we have Mawile. Mawile, obviously a fantastic Intimidate user, good Fairy Steel coverage for the team, and one of the few Pokemon that uses Fairy in a physical form with Play Rough. Obviously, it pales a little bit in comparison to Mimikyu, but Mimikyu being a very high-end pick and not necessarily needed to round this team out, I think Mawile is a pretty good pickup in the back. Alright, next up, let's talk leads. Leads for this team are pretty simple. We already kind of covered them in the gears. The first lead is going to be around GMax Venusaur and Ninetails. Setting that sun, putting something to sleep potentially with Sleep Powder, or just G-maxing in their face and getting that G-max Vine Lash off is going to be prime for this team. I could even see the Venusaur going no speed and being a Trick Room option instead, but I think really Venusaur with Chlorophyll excels at max speed in the sun, and I really expect the Sun Core team to really come and put in some work for the LA Spice this season. Secondly, we talked about it, the Trick Room core, Ttar, Dusclops. I can see this being a very standard lead. The only difference would be whether it does bring Ttar or Araquanid out front. Both are great potential options for the front leads, and both do super amounts of damage out in Trick Room with their physical offensive prowess. Finally, I'll give a special shout out to the support core here. I could honestly see her leading 2 support Pokemon out at the front, maybe in Purloin and Mawile or Purloin and Fungus, trying to get those spores off, trying to get some fake out action going on. Even under-evolved Pokemon can excel in the draft league here, so special shout out to them. Next, let's talk gaps. Gaps on this team are relatively small. I'm not gonna lie, I really had to sit here and think about the team top to bottom and really figure out where I think it's sort of lacking. The main lack for it, which everybody's been talking about, is the Sun Setter for this team. Ninetails is a great Sun Setter, but Torkoal usually is just always better, being able to function under Trick Room and in the sun really well. So, if KayCreigh ever gets the transactional ability to get rid of Ninetails and pick up Torkoal, this team probably is going to be my front runner for at least the semifinals, if not the finals. Also, there is a small gap with Gale Wings or a good flying type Pokemon with speed against it. Obviously, potential to one-shot the Venusaur, potential to one-shot the Araquanid, even the potential to do major amounts of damage out to some of the smaller parts on your team like Comfey and Fungus. It's a very niche case, which is only obviously majorly run by the team that's picked up Talonflame, but otherwise, I'm seeing a pretty strong lead off no matter what for the speed under the LA Spice. Finally, let's talk matches to watch. In this case, I'm going to give them all to them. Every match of the LA Spice this season is going to be spicy. But specifically, I'll call out one. I'm going to call out Poise again and say the Detroit Littens are poised to do really well as well this season. But the fact that KayCreigh thinks Poise has the ugliest team definitely is going to put some fire under him to make sure he can put the LA Spice out. We'll have to wait and see which team comes out on top. There you have it, guys. The LA Spice and KayCreigh, I think, are going to be my potential pick for a semi-finalist at minimum this season in the WBE. Obviously, make sure to give KayCreigh a shout out as you check out her draft video right up here, and then make sure to hit that subscribe button up here as we check out the rest of the teams for the VGC doubles of the WBE. We'll catch you all for the next one. Peace.